guys. Welcome you all to the Insights into Books podcast. Before we start, kindly follow or subscribe us, and if you want daily summary files of these books, then subscribe us on Gumroad. Links are in description. Now, let's start today's discussion, guys. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're really diving deep into something pretty powerful. It's a framework that pulls together insights from clinical psychology, ancient stories, myths, and really practical ethical rules.
Exactly. It's not just your typical self-help list.
No, definitely not. We're looking at what's been called an antidote to chaos. It's a set of principles designed to help you, confront the really fundamental stuff about being human, the difficult parts.
That's the core of it. It starts from a place that acknowledges suffering isn't something to just avoid, but something inherent in life.
So the goal isn't just chasing happiness.
Not primarily, no. The argument is that happiness is often fleeting, maybe even, shallow sometimes. The real aim, according to this perspective, is a meaningful existence. And that means grappling with what's called the terrible responsibility of life.
Terrible responsibility. That sounds intense.
It is. It acknowledges that life involves suffering, inevitably. And these rules, this framework, it's presented as a kind of map, a way to orient yourself when, life throws that chaos at you, which it always does. Eventually.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. Let's try to unpack this map. We'll start with the philosophical heavy hitters first. Right. The foundation.
Right. We need to talk about suffering, this duality of chaos and order everyone experiences, and crucially, this idea of individual responsibility, that moral obligation.
And once we've got that groundwork laid, then we can get into the 12 specific principles, moving from the internal world outwards.
Exactly. From self-regulation, dealing with yourself, to navigating society, telling the truth, and then maybe reaching towards something like wisdom or building strong character.
Sound like a journey? Let's get started.
Okay, so individual responsibility. This is really the linchpin for the whole thing.
The absolute core.
Yes. The central point is that you, as an individual, you not only can improve your own life, but you actually have a moral obligation to do so.
An obligation, not just a nice idea.
An obligation, and this willingness to take on what's called the burden of being. Yeah. Accepting the difficulties, the tragedies, the limits, that willingness is the decision to live a meaningful life. They're presented as basically the same thing.
That really flips the script on just trying to feel good all the time. This happiness versus meaning distinction feels critical.
It absolutely is. Happiness, in this view, can be short-sighted. Maybe it's just instant gratification, a quick fix.
Like grabbing that extra drink or scrolling online instead of doing something hard.
Precisely. Expedient.
Yeah.
But meaning is positioned as a moral necessity. And it's necessary because, the argument is it's the only thing strong enough to help you justify existence when it gets really tough, when you face that inherent suffering.
And you mentioned something about sinful nature earlier. How does that fit?
Yes. That ties into the unique human capacity for voluntary malevolence, knowing how to hurt and sometimes choosing to do it. Meaning is seen as a way to sort of counterbalance that, to atone for it even.
Wow, so meaning isn't just about feeling purposeful, it's almost like a shield.
A shield, a direction, resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you shoulder that meaning, it becomes central to who you are. It can protect you, the idea goes, even from the really deep fears, like the fear of death. It gives you that why to endure the how.
Okay, that's a heavy start. Let's talk about the where. This duality of chaos and order. You're saying this isn't just like a social idea, but something more fundamental.
That's the claim. These are presented as almost meta-realities.
Right. Forces
that structure all lived experience. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO in New York or living in a remote tribe. You're always navigating between chaos and order.
So order is the known, the predictable.
Exactly. Order is the explored territory. It's society, tradition, structure. Your routine, your job, the rules everyone follows. The stability of your home, your relationships when they're working. It's where things make sense, where behavior matches expectations. Think clocks, calendars, stable marriages. It makes life predictable enough to function.
Okay, safe. Maybe a bit boring sometimes, but safe.
Right. And chaos. Chaos is the opposite. It's the unknown, the formless potential, but also where danger lurks. It's that feeling of dreadful freedom when structures collapse.
Like when tragedy strikes. A sudden illness, losing your job, a relationship ending.
Yes. All of that. That's chaos erupting into order.
Yeah.
And the framework delves into ancient myths here, pointing out how chaos is often symbolized as feminine, like the ocean, or sometimes a dragon or serpent. Nature, in its overwhelming, unpredictable aspect.
Why feminine specifically?
Well, the interpretation offered connects it to the immense power of nature, including the often crushing force of sexual selection. The idea is that female choice, historically and evolutionarily, has been incredibly selective. Nature, personified as the feminine, often says no.
Saying no to potential mates.
To the vast majority, yes. The argument presented is that this intense pressure, the fact that most males across history didn't reproduce, was a primary driver of human evolution. It pushed males towards creativity, striving, building things, developing complex brains, all to impress and overcome that no, to prove themselves worthy.
That's a really intense way to look at evolution and attraction, framing it as a response to potential annihilation by chaos, by nature's selectivity.
It is. It's a stark perspective. So
Yeah.
given this duality, the goal isn't to just hide in order forever that leads to rigidity, tyranny, nor is it to just dissolve into chaos, which is terrifying.
Something to walk the line.
Exactly. Meaning is found right there on the border between them. You need the stability of order, but you also need to engage with chaos, the unknown, for growth, for potential, for adapting and becoming stronger.
Okay, chaos, order, responsibility. Now the third pillar, suffering.
Oh.
This is presented as just, a given.
A fundamental truth. Life is suffering. It's stated almost axiomatically. Disease, aging, death, loss. It's built into the structure of being itself.
And this isn't just philosophical musing, it's grounded in historical reality too. You mentioned the 20th century.
Very much so. The horrors of the Holocaust, the Soviet gulags, these events loom large in the background. Accounts like Solzhenitsyn's, detailing the unbelievable cruelty humans inflict on each other, force a confrontation with a darker aspect.
Which is?
That humans don't just suffer passively from external forces, we have this unique, chilling capacity for voluntary evil. For malevolence.
Because we're self-aware. We know what hurts.
Precisely. We understand vulnerability, our own finiteness, our mortality, how fragile we are. And because we know how we can be hurt, we know exactly how to hurt others most effectively. This capacity, this knowledge, it justifies a certain level of self-contempt.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
Hmm.
If we know how bad we can be, how do we even value ourselves or humanity?
It requires a very difficult balancing act. You have to hold that self-contempt, that awareness of potential darkness, alongside profound gratitude. Gratitude for the traditions and structures that hold back the worst of it, and maybe even more importantly, astonishment at what ordinary people achieve despite it all.
Astonishment.
Yes, the fact that most people, even those who suffer terribly, don't just descend into bitterness and resentment. They carry on, they build things, they care for others. That refusal to become monstrous, despite knowing how, is presented as the miracle to focus on. That's the light.
Okay, that's a deep foundation. Let's build on it with the first set of rules. These seem focused inward on getting yourself sorted out. Starting with rule 1, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Simple advice, sounds like my grandmother.
It does, doesn't it? But the rationale goes way deeper than just looking confident. It's framed as tapping into a really ancient biological system.
Ancient? Like how ancient?
Well, like 350 million years ancient. The comparison used is with lobsters.
Lobsters.
Seriously.
Seriously, lobsters have dominance hierarchies, they fight, establish status, and their brain chemistry changes based on whether they win or lose. The winner gets a surge of serotonin, stands tall, looks confident. The loser slumps, avoids conflict, lower serotonin.
Okay, so how does that relate to humans standing up straight?
Well, the argument is that we have a similar, very old part of our brain, a master control system, that's constantly tracking our social standing, our place in various hierarchies, at work, socially, wherever.
And it reacts like the lobster brain. To some extent, yes. When you feel defeated, low status, anxious, you tend to physically slump. Shoulders forward, head down. That posture signals low status to your own brain, which then reduces serotonin, maybe increases stress hormones like cortisol.
Creating a negative feedback loop. You feel bad, so you look bad, which makes you feel worse.
Exactly. So standing up straight, shoulders back, it's presented as a voluntary physical act that breaks that loop. You're consciously adopting the posture of someone who is competent, someone who is accepting that terrible responsibility we talked about.
And this actually changes your brain chemistry.
That's the claim. It signals competence not just outwards to others, but inwards to yourself. It can boost serotonin, help regulate mood, make you feel less anxious, more confident, and crucially, other people perceive that confidence.
So they treat you differently, like a higher status lobster.
Huh. In a manner of speaking, yes. They're more likely to treat you as competent, which reinforces the positive feeling, further stabilizing you. It's like biological self-persuasion that actually works.
Okay, from posture to self-care. Rule 2. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. This tackles something I think many people recognize, being better at caring for others, even pets, than themselves.
Yeah, it's a strange paradox, isn't it? People will diligently give their dog its medication, but forget their own. Why? The framework suggests it often stems from a deep-seated self-loathing, a belief that maybe you're not actually worth helping.
But the rule insists you are worth it. More than that, you're obligated to care for yourself.
Obligated, yes. The reasoning connects back to that idea of inherent value, possessing a spark of the divine, having a vital role to play. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish indulgence. It's about maintaining the vessel, keeping yourself functional so you can fulfill that role, face responsibilities, contribute properly.
And it gets surprisingly practical here, too. It's not just philosophy. There's advice about routines.
Very specific advice, actually, particularly for those struggling with anxiety or depression. Things like eating a breakfast heavy in fat and protein right after waking up, and maintaining a really predictable sleep schedule.
Why the immediate heavy breakfast? That seems specific.
It relates to stabilizing your psychophysiology. If you're chronically stressed or anxious, your hormonal systems can get out of whack. You might oversecrete insulin. If you skip breakfast, then later when your body needs energy, that lingering insulin can cause your blood sugar to crash.
Leading to feeling shaky, lightheaded, anxious, the physical symptoms.
Exactly. Those feelings can mimic or worsen anxiety itself. So stabilizing blood sugar first thing with fat and protein can, for some people, significantly reduce that baseline anxiety and emotional volatility. It calms the physical system. Same with a rigid sleep schedule. It anchors your biological rhythms.
So this self-care is really about fundamental biological regulation, not just bubble baths.
Fundamentally, yes. And to keep it going, the advice is to set small, achievable goals. Make today just a tiny bit better than yesterday. And crucially, reward yourself when you achieve it. Even something small, like a coffee break.
Like training yourself with positive reinforcement.
Pretty much. It reinforces the positive behavior, builds momentum. It's applying the principle of compound interest to building character, one small step at a time.
Okay. Step 3 involves other people.
Yeah.
Rule 3. Make friends with people who want the best for you. This sounds obvious, but there's a sharp edge to it.
There really is. It's a serious warning about who you associate with, framed as a moral choice. And it directly challenges the impulse to always try and rescue people who are struggling.
Because not everyone wants to be rescued.
Or worse, some people might actively pull you down with them. The text is quite blunt. Not everyone failing is a noble victim. Some people, it argues, actively reject improvement. They might even use their misery to signal virtue or blame the world, and they can resent those who try to lift them up. Stability is harder to achieve than delinquency is to spread.
Oof. That leads to the next point, questioning your own motives for helping.
Right. Are you genuinely helping, or is it about your own vanity? Do you want to look like the rescuer, feel morally superior? It's a hard question. The source uses a challenging comparison. Christ associated with outcasts? Yes, but you're you. Assume you might be taking the easier path, narcissism, before assuming you're capable of the most difficult moral act.
That's quite a reality check. So what defines a good friend, then, in this view?
Reciprocity is key. Someone who wants the best for you. That means they won't just support you when you're succeeding, they'll also provide honest feedback, call you out, gently or not so gently, when you're messing up. They won't encourage your destructive patterns.
So they act as both cheerleaders and honest critics, co-negotiators for your betterment.
That's a good way to put it. They don't indulge your weaknesses. They encourage your strengths and challenge you to be better. That's the kind of friendship to cultivate.
Okay, that makes sense. Finishing this section, Rule 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. This feels like a direct response to, well, modern life and social media.
Absolutely. It's designed as an antidote to that constant soul-crushing comparison game. That little voice in your head saying, look how much better they are. Why even bother?
That voice is dismissed as a cheap trick.
A cheap trick of the rational mind, yes. Because external comparison is fundamentally flawed. You're always comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's highlight reel, and there will always be someone better than you at something. It's an unwinnable game that paralyzes you.
So the focus has to be internal, on your own progress.
Exactly. Shift the benchmark inward. Are you a little better today than you were yesterday? That's the only comparison that matters, the only one you can actually control and measure meaningfully. Focusing on others just brings in external standards and blinds you to your own incremental growth.
It's not just about one area, right? Like career success.
No, that's crucial. Success isn't monolithic. You need to assess yourself across multiple dimensions, multiple games, your career, family life, health, hobbies, personal development. You have your unique starting point, your own advantages, your own struggles. Judge your trajectory based on your past self, not someone else's present. That, the rule suggests, is the path out of the hell of resentment and inaction.
All right, we've worked on the inner world. Now the rules seem to shift outwards, dealing with family, society, and truth itself. Let's tackle Rule 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. This one sounds potentially controversial.
It definitely challenges some modern parenting ideas, particularly the emphasis on always being your child's friend or prioritizing their immediate happiness above all else.
So what's the core duty of a parent, according to this rule?
The primary duty is starkly defined. Parents must act as proxies for the real world. Their job is to socialize the child, to teach them the rules of acceptable behavior so that other people, peers, teachers, future colleagues, society at large will find them desirable and give them opportunities.
Socially desirable. That sounds a bit harsh. What about creativity or self-esteem?
Those things matter, but the argument is they are secondary to ensuring the child can function successfully within the social world. An undisciplined, unsocialized child, the source contends, isn't being done any favors. They might feel good in the moment, but they will suffer later when the real world rejects or punishes their behavior. They'll be anxious and fearful because they don't know the boundaries.
So parents who avoid discipline to be liked by their kids are actually being cruel.
Cruel and inexcusable is the language used. It's seen as a dereliction of duty, sacrificing the child's long-term well-being for the parent's comfort or desire for friendship. A child needs guidance and boundaries from parents more than they need another friend.
Okay, so if discipline is necessary, how should it be applied?
The concept introduced is minimum necessary force. The goal is to stop dangerous or unacceptable behavior effectively and quickly. Whatever stops it fastest, within reason, is best. Like stopping a toddler from running into the street, you use the minimum force required to immediately halt the danger. The effectiveness and immediacy are key for learning.
And it mentions distinguishing different kinds of crying.
Yes, that's important. Parents need to recognize that not all crying is sadness or pain. Sometimes, especially in toddlers, it can be anger crying, a performance, an act of dominance aimed at manipulating the parent into backing down. Recognizing that difference is crucial for setting firm, consistent boundaries. Children are constantly testing limits to figure out where they actually are.
Right, they need to know where the walls are. Okay, moving from the household to the world. Rule 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. This feels like a call for humility.
Radical humility, yes. Before you jump to judging huge systems, capitalism, politics, your boss, your perceived enemies, you have a moral obligation to first look inward.
Look at your own mess first.
Exactly. Confront your own sin, willful blindness, and deceit. What destructive habits do you have? Where are you failing? Where are you contributing to the chaos or suffering around you? Clean up your own act before you try to fix the world.
The example of Solzhenitsyn is used here, right?
Yes, as an archetype. Before writing the Gulag Archipelago, a monumental critique of the Soviet system, he reportedly spent years meticulously examining his own life, his own failures, his own contributions to the problems he saw. Only after that deep self-assessment did he feel he had the moral standing to offer such a profound critique of the external world.
Because failing to do that leads to resentment.
That's the danger. Unaddressed personal failures, bitterness, suffering that you refuse to take responsibility for it can curdle into resentment. And that resentment then gets projected outwards onto others, onto systems, onto being itself.
And in extreme cases.
In extreme cases, like with mass murderers or those who embrace nihilistic destructive ideologies, you see individuals who have essentially judged existence itself as fundamentally corrupt and not worth saving. This often begins, the argument goes, with unaddressed personal darkness and malevolence.
So the action is clear. Start with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop engaging in destructive habits. Clean up the messes within your own sphere of control.
Precisely. Untangle the inauthentic parts of your life. Deal with the chaos you are creating or tolerating. Only then, when you've dealt with your self-imposed suffering, are you left with the inevitable bare tragedies of life. And you can face those without the compounding poison of bitterness and deceit. Only then might you be clear-sighted enough to offer useful critique.
Okay, makes sense. Now, shifting focus to what to aim for. Rule 7, pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. We touched on this, avoiding the easy path.
Yes, because life involves suffering, the path of least resistance, the expedient path is often immediate gratification. Distraction, pleasure, avoiding responsibility. Binge drinking, procrastination, chasing cheap thrills.
While meaning requires sacrifice.
Exactly. Meaning necessitates the delay of gratification. It requires giving up something valuable now, time, comfort, immediate pleasure for the sake of a better future. This is framed as an ancient human discovery, perhaps the most important one.
Like the origins of work itself.
Yeah.
Giving up leisure now to plant crops for later.
Precisely. The concept of sacrifice, giving something up now for future gain, is synonymous with work and planning. It's fundamental to civilization.
And this rule takes it further, connecting it to ultimate ideals, like religious archetypes.
It does. The Christian story of sacrifice, Christ's sacrifice, is presented as the ultimate archetype of this principle. The voluntary confrontation with the worst possible suffering and death, motivated by the highest possible aim. It's held up as the narrative that explores the absolute limit of what meaningful sacrifice entails. Nothing greater can be imagined, as the source puts it.
But sacrifice doesn't always work out, does it? Sometimes you give things up and you still fail.
Absolutely. That's a crucial and difficult point. The story of Cain is often referenced here. His sacrifice was rejected, and the result was bitterness, resentment, and ultimately violence. Choosing the meaningful path, making sacrifices, doesn't guarantee success. The world might still reject your efforts.
So where is the meaning found then, if not in guaranteed success?
It's found in the aim, in the orientation, in the mode of being. Are you aiming to solve the fundamental problems, hunger, suffering, tyranny in the long run for everyone? Or are you just focused on your immediate needs and desires? Meaning lies and striving for that higher, more difficult goal, even knowing failure is possible. It's about the nobility of the aim itself.
Okay. That leads us to the final rule in this section, maybe the cornerstone of navigating reality. Rule 8, tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
Yes, this is fundamental. It's about aligning your speech and actions with reality as best you understand it. And it starts by confronting the life lie.
The life lie, what's that?
It's when you manipulate your perception of reality or how you represent it to others to force a specific, narrow, predefined outcome. Like insisting everything must lead to that perfect retirement on the beach and refusing to acknowledge any evidence or possibility to the contrary.
It's like wearing blinders, based on arrogance.
Philosophical arrogance, yes. It's assuming your current limited understanding is sufficient to dictate how reality should be, rather than confronting reality as it is. Living this way, the source argues, makes your existence inauthentic, weak, and built on a shaky foundation.
And this individual dishonesty, it has broader consequences.
Profound consequences. The argument is stark. Individual deceit is the soil in which social totalitarianism grows.
Oh.
The little lies you tell yourself and others, the truths you refuse to speak, build your tolerance for the bigger lies that underpin oppressive regimes.
So personal dishonesty enables political tyranny.
That's the direct link being made. The massive lies of 20th century totalitarian states, which led to the deaths of millions, couldn't have taken hold without populations already accustomed to smaller, everyday deceits. Untruth corrupts the individual soul, and corrupted souls make for a corrupted state.
So the antidote is?
Tell the truth. Or, if you don't know the truth, which is often the case, then at the very least, don't lie. Don't say things you know to be false. Don't act in ways that betray your own conscience.
Even small lies, like not speaking up against something wrong at work.
Even that's a lie of omission. Silence in the face of petty tyranny or bureaucratic absurdity feeds the larger beast. Truth, in this framework, is the light. It's the ultimate resource. It allows you to maintain your character even when everything else is stripped away. Your reputation can be destroyed, but your character, built on truth, remains.
Okay, we're heading into the final stretch. These last 4 rules seem geared towards developing deeper wisdom, refining how we interact and perceive. Let's start with Rule 9. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
This sounds simple, but it's presented as anything but. True listening is described as a really complex, even dangerous act.
Dangerous. How so?
Because if you genuinely listen with the assumption that the other person has something valuable to teach you, You risk having your own fundamental beliefs, your premises about the world, challenged and maybe even overturned. It requires courage to open yourself up to that possibility.
So if a conversation feels boring, it might be my fault.
That's often the implication, yes.
Yeah.
If it's boring, you're probably not truly listening. You might just be waiting for your turn to talk, to impose your own view. Or maybe you're just engaged in, status jockeying rather than a real exchange of ideas.
This connects to how our minds even work, doesn't it? Like memory.
Exactly. Memory isn't just a passive recording of the past, it's an active tool. Its function is to guide the future, primarily by helping you not repeat past mistakes. You remember the things your brain deems necessary to avoid future pain or failure.
And thinking itself is like a conversation.
Good thinking often is. It's like having an internal dialogue, being two people at once, challenging your own ideas. And if you're not naturally skilled at that internal debate, then you need to talk to other people. You need genuine listeners.
Like a good therapist, maybe. Someone who listens but also challenges.
Precisely. A good therapist, or even just a good friend in conversation, acts as both a collaborator and an opponent. They offer honest feedback, point out flaws in your thinking, help you see things you're missing. They don't just agree with everything.
This seems crucial for relationships, too. That idea of wanting to be right versus wanting peace.
Yes. In any conflict, especially with a partner, you face that choice. Do you need to win the argument, prove you're right, and make the other person wrong? Or do you want to actually resolve the issue and maintain harmony? If you always prioritize being right, you might win battles, but you'll likely lose the relationship. You have to want the truth, or the best outcome, more than you want the satisfaction of winning.
That ties perfectly into the next one. Rule 10. Be precise in your speech. Vague talk seems to cause a lot of problems, especially in relationships.
Huge problems. Vague, fuzzy language leaves things murky. Problems don't get defined, so they can't be solved. They just fester in the background, creating this general sense of unease or resentment.
Whereas precision, it pins things down.
Exactly. Precision collapses the overwhelming chaos of possibility into a specific, defined reality. When you articulate a problem clearly, this specific thing is bothering me, or this is exactly what I want, you make it manageable. You bring it out of the fog and into the light where it can actually be addressed.
There's a children's story used to illustrate this, about a dragon.
Yes, there's no such thing as a dragon. A family ignores a small, friendly dragon in their house. They insist it doesn't exist, but because the reality of the dragon is denied, unarticulated, it just grows and grows.
Until it takes over the whole house.
Until it fills the house and carries it away. It's a powerful metaphor for unaddressed problems, especially in marriages or long-term relationships. Those little resentments, the unspoken frustrations, the things swept under the rug, they don't disappear. They grow.
Until they explode. An affair, a huge fight, divorce.
Exactly. Chaos erupts because the specific issues were never named, never confronted precisely. You refuse to notice or refuse to speak clearly about what was wrong.
So the advice is, nothing is too small to talk about if it's causing friction.
Pretty much. There is nothing so little that it is not worth fighting about. Fighting, meaning engaging with, articulating. Clarity requires admitting precisely what's wrong and what you want. It might be painful in the moment to face that specific disappointment, but it's far better than the vague, consuming misery of unspoken resentment. Specific problems can potentially be solved. Generalized misery just poisons everything.
Okay, precision is key. Now for Rule 11, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. This sounds like it's about letting kids take risks, but it seems broader than that.
It is. It starts with the observation that children, especially boys, are drawn to risky activities like skateboarding, climbing, rough play. They're not necessarily trying to avoid danger. They're seeking it out to master it.
To become competent.
Exactly. The goal is competence, mastery over challenge. That, the argument goes, is the only real safety in the long run. Overprotecting children, trying to eliminate all risk from their lives, like making playgrounds completely sterile, actually fails them. It denies them the chance to develop resilience, judgment, and competence through confronting difficulty. If you make things too safe, they'll just find more dangerous ways to test themselves.
And this links back to ideas about hierarchy and difference.
It does. It encourages accepting that differences exist, for instance, well-documented average differences in interest between genders, with males tending towards things and females towards people. Interestingly, these differences seem to become more pronounced in societies that strive hardest for gender equality, suggesting a strong biological component.
So, bothering children skateboarding is symbolic of what? Trying to impose a false equality or safety that stifles natural development.
Sort of. It represents interfering with the natural, often messy process by which competence hierarchies are formed. People, especially males and groups, tend to organize themselves based on skill and competence towards a valued goal. This striving within a hierarchy is presented as a major source of life's meaning. Trying to flatten all hierarchies or shield everyone from competition in the name of safety or equality can inadvertently remove that meaning and challenge.
Okay, but what about when that testing within a hierarchy looks like bullying or harassment? Like the example given of a tough working crew. Isn't that just aggression?
That's a critical point the source addresses. It describes the unspoken code on such crews. Pull your weight, be competent, don't whine, be reliable. The teasing or harassment is often framed as a rapid, if harsh, assessment of character and competence. Can you handle pressure? Can you stand up for yourself?
So it's a test of potential.
A test of whether you have integrated your own capacity for aggression, your ability to bite, metaphorically, in a controlled way. The idea is that if you demonstrate you can push back, that you have that strength under control, usually don't have to. Others recognize it. Strength of character, in this view, involves integrating that potentially destructive capacity into a productive personality, not eliminating it. Weakness or inability to handle the pressure is what often invites further negative attention.
That's a challenging perspective on aggression and competence. Okay, finally, the last rule. Rule 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. After all the heavy responsibility, this sounds gentle.
It is. It's a crucial counterpoint. It's advice for coping when life reveals its truly tragic dimensions. When you're facing severe illness, profound loss, the death of a child, times when the grand structures of meaning seem to collapse.
So when things are overwhelming, focus on the small things.
Exactly. When thinking fails, when the big picture is unbearable, just noticing can help. Petting a cat you happen across is symbolic of taking a moment to appreciate the small, spontaneous bits of grace, beauty, or simple goodness that still exist, even amidst the suffering. It's an injunction to pay attention to the momentary wonders.
And this ties into accepting limitation, like the Superman analogy.
Yes. The realization that limitation is actually necessary for being. A being without limits, like an all-powerful Superman, can't really be a hero because there's nothing for them to strive against, no resistance to overcome. Existence, meaning itself, requires limitation, requires that tragic structure, so that we can define ourselves against it, grow, become something more.
So it's about balancing that awareness of tragedy with appreciation.
And astonishment. Balancing the self-contempt we discussed earlier, knowing our capacity for evil, with genuine awe at what people endure and accomplish. The source highlights a key statistic. The vast majority of people who are abused as children do not go on to abuse their own children.
That's powerful.
It is. It's presented as empirical evidence for the genuine dominance of good over evil in the human heart. Despite everything, despite suffering and the potential for darkness, people are incredibly resilient. They can endure and they can choose good. This final rule is about remembering to see that good, those small moments of grace, especially when life is at its hardest.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a journey we've taken. From lobsters and neurochemistry all the way to the nature of good and evil, chaos and order. It really feels like the core message is that sorting out your own life, your own house, using these principles. That's the essential first step to making anything better in the wider world.
That's precisely it. Order the soul, order the household, and then perhaps you have the stability and wisdom to positively influence the community, the state, the world. It starts with the individual taking responsibility.
So if we were to leave our listeners with one final thought, one provocative idea to mull over from all this.
Maybe think about this. Don't necessarily wish for an easy life, free from trouble. That might not even be desirable. Instead, perhaps aim to become the sort of person who, when tragedy strikes at your father's funeral or any real crisis, is the one everyone else in their grief and confusion can instinctively lean on.
To be the reliable one in the storm.
Exactly. To develop that kind of strength, that kind of character in the face of life's inevitable hardships. That's presented as a truly worthy ambition, far more valuable than simply seeking comfort.
This was it on today's book, guys. And guys, kindly subscribe and follow us for more such insights on various books. And also, do not forget to join our social media community to stay in touch and get updated.